All right, let's talk about one of the most famous chemicals in our body, oxytocin. Now, you've almost definitely heard it called the love hormone, right? But it turns out this little chemical has a surprising double life that is way more complex and, frankly, more fascinating than its reputation lets on.
Yeah, this is how most of us think about it. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling you get from a good hug, or why just petting your dog can feel like it melts all your stress away. It's got all these cozy nicknames like the cuddle hormone or the love hormone, and for good reason. But that simple label, it barely scratches the surface.
So, while that love hormone title is a great headline, the reality is so much more nuanced. And to really get what oxytocin is all about, we've got to go back to the beginning. Where did its story even start?
Well, fun fact, the origin of its name is actually a huge clue: swift birth. You see, oxytocin was first discovered because of its crucial role in childbirth. It's what helps with uterine contractions. It's a peptide hormone, cooked up deep in the brain in a place called the hypothalamus, and it's basically a powerful messenger for our entire social lives.
And our understanding of it has just evolved like crazy. For almost 100 years, we saw it as this purely physical thing for birth and lactation. It really wasn't until the 2000s that scientists started to uncover its profound impact on our minds, on how we trust each other, how we bond, and how we connect.
This huge shift from a physical to a social hormone, it was all driven by some pretty groundbreaking research that was trying to answer one key question.
I mean, think about it for a second. How on earth do you even measure something as abstract and, well, fuzzy as trust in a lab? Well, back in 2005, a group of researchers came up with a really clever experiment to do just that.
They called it the trust game. So imagine this, you get a bunch of people, and one group gets a little spritz of oxytocin up their nose, while the other group gets a harmless placebo. Then they all play this game where they have to decide how much of their own money they're willing to give to a complete stranger, hoping that stranger invests it and gives them more back. The amount they handed over, that was a direct measure of their trust. And the results were just striking. It was totally black and white. The group that got the real oxytocin was way more willing to entrust their cash to a stranger. This was one of the first big studies to show concrete proof that, yep, oxytocin directly ramps up trust between people.
So, oxytocin builds trust, creates bonds, makes us feel good. Case closed, right? The love hormone is wonderful, and that's the end of the story. Well, not exactly. This is where the story takes a really interesting turn.
It turns out this hormone isn't really about universal love and trust for everybody. Nope, it's actually highly selective, and that selectivity can lead to some surprisingly negative, even dark behaviors.
Here it is, the hormone's dual personality. Oxytocin doesn't just make you bond with people in general. It makes you bond fiercely with your people, your in-group. Towards them, it cranks up the trust and cooperation. But towards anyone you see as an outsider, an outgroup, it can actually do the opposite, increasing suspicion and defensiveness. So it's less of a love hormone and more of a my team hormone.
And this creates some very real downsides. The same hormone that builds bonds can also reinforce our biases, making us favor our own group over others. In relationships, it can be the fuel for jealousy. And since it makes us more trusting, it can sometimes blind us to red flags, causing us to put our faith in the wrong people. It's a powerful chemical, for sure, but its effect totally depends on the situation.
And part of that situation, part of that context, is realizing that oxytocin is never flying solo. Our emotions, our behaviors, they're all the result of this complex chemical cocktail that's always mixing in our brains.
You can kind of think of it like a team of specialists in your head. You've got oxytocin, the bonding expert, building those connections. Then you've got serotonin, the mood stabilizer, keeping you feeling calm and content. And of course, there's dopamine, the reward chemical, pushing your motivation. They've all got different jobs, but they are constantly talking to each other.
And that teamwork between oxytocin and serotonin is so important. To put it simply, oxytocin helps us connect with other people to feel secure, while serotonin helps us find that stability and security within ourselves. You really need a healthy balance of both to feel your best. Okay, now that we have a better handle on the chemistry, let's dive into something truly surprising. How this ancient biological hormone is showing up in our super modern, high-tech world.
I know. This sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? The idea that a machine made of plastic and wires could make our brain produce the very same chemical we get from hugging someone we love. But believe it or not, the science says this is very, very real.
It's true.
Our brains are fundamentally wired to respond to social cues. Things like gentle movements, responsive sounds, even what feels like eye contact. And it turns out our ancient brain chemistry isn't all that picky about whether those signals come from a human, a pet, or a surprisingly convincing robot.
For real, studies have shown that just interacting with social robots, like the little robotic dog Ivo or Pero, this incredibly cute therapeutic seal robot, can actually increase oxytocin levels in people. This is already opening up incredible new possibilities for things like therapy and elder care, where companion robots can help fight loneliness.
But the great news is, you don't need a high-tech robot to get these benefits. Simple, everyday things are proven ways to naturally boost your own oxytocin. Giving a warm hug, making real eye contact, having a conversation where you feel heard, petting an animal, or just laughing with your friends. The common thread here, it's all about genuine, positive social connection.
So, after all this, after looking at its light side, its dark side, its ancient roots, and its futuristic possibilities, what's the single most important thing to remember about oxytocin?
This right here is the crucial takeaway. Oxytocin is not good or bad. It doesn't create feelings out of thin air. What it does is take the social signals that are already there, trust, suspicion, love, rivalry, and it just turns up the volume. It's a powerful social amplifier.
And that leaves us with a final thought to reflect on. If this hormone is just an amplifier for the bonds we build, then the real power isn't in the chemical itself. It's in the choices we make about who we connect with in the first place. Who are you choosing to amplify your connection with?